What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So reports have surfaced, and according to multiple sources that have revealed the pay-per-view numbers for undefeated, newly crowned 3-belt unified welterweight world champion superstar boxer, who is widely considered by many to be top 3 best pound-for-pound boxers in the world, and ERROL "The Truth" Spence Jr., who is now 28 wins, no loss, no draw, 22 big wins by way of knockout. He is 32 years of age, 5'9.5" with a 72-inch arm reach. He took on WBA, World Boxing Association, former welterweight world champion, Cuban star boxer YORDENIS in a unification bout. YORDENIS is 27 wins now, 5 losses, no draws, 12 wins by way of knockout. He himself was knocked out. Now he's 35 years of age, 5'9" with a 69-inch arm reach. With that said, the fight took place April 16th, Arlington, Texas, AT&T Dallas Cowboys Stadium. And the reports and the rumors is that it did 250,000 pay-per-views or less. And people are saying that it was an epic fail, or that ERROL Spence isn't a pay-per-view star. But this is the things they don't tell you. Now, I have been privy to information that tells me it did over 300,000 pay-per-views. But nonetheless, this is the things they're not telling you. YORDENIS is relatively unknown here in the States. So ERROL Spence doing 300,000 pay-per-views or 250,000 pay-per-views. This is all to discredit ERROL Spence because of the buildup between ERROL Spence and his biggest rival, which makes for the biggest fight in the sport of boxing, between himself and undefeated 3-division world champion, former junior welterweight undisputed world champion, currently the reigning WBO welterweight world champion, who is widely considered by many to be the '1 best pound-for-pound fighter in the world, in Terrence Bud Crawford, who is 38 wins, no loss, no draw, 29 big wins by way of knockout. He is 34 years of age, 5'8" with a 74-inch arm reach. With that said, ERROL Spence, Terrence Crawford makes for the biggest fight in the sport of boxing, okay? And the big thing about this was the fact that ERROL Spence said he wanted a 60-40 split to make the fight happen, and everybody felt like that was the roadblock that prevented this fight from happening. Which today's time, it doesn't even matter, because the fight is happening and purses and splits is not taken apart, is not a factor in preventing this fight from happening or happening, okay? The fight is going to happen. But with that said, everybody's trying to downplay ERROL Spence's star status. But what they're not telling you is this. ERROL Spence did $30 million gate. Let me say it to you again. The fight grossed $30 million. Okay? The fight grossed $30 million. On top of the fight grossing $30 million, right? On top of the fight grossing $30 million, right? Now you factor in this. The fight has been reported, allegedly, I have to say allegedly, it's reported to have done 6 to 7 million illegal streams for the fight. I'm gonna say it to you again. 6 to 7 million illegal streams, allegedly, for this fight. Today's climate, it is very hard to do massive pay-per-view numbers when people are not paying for the fights. They're finding ways to stream the fight without paying for the fight. So they caught 6 to 7 million people that illegally streamed that they had to shut down. Imagine if you get a small percentage of that, just one out of that 6, 500,000 out of that 6 to 7 million. 500,000 out of that 6 to 7 million that you catch, right? To be able to have that was legal, to legally stream it, that means you factor in the 300,000 plus the 500,000, that's 800,000 pay-per-views. But those pay-per-views are taken because people don't want to pay in today's time with the technology that people have and the ability to be able to find ways to watch the fight without having to pay is at an all-time high. So this all to discredit Errol Spence because you're trying to uplift Terrence Crawford, because Terrence Crawford, he fought the biggest fight of his career against two-time welterweight world champion, superstar boxer, and future Hall of Famer, and who is now retired in Showtime, Sean Porter. Okay, and he did a reported 190 to 150,000 pay-per-views. And he has the biggest sporting platform in the world behind him, okay? He has ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports, the biggest sporting platform in the world backing him. And he did 150,000 to 190,000. Some people said it didn't even do 100,000. But again, even in his case, so today's climate, no matter how you slice it, 150 to 250, it's still, Errol Spence is still a bigger star, regardless of how you try to slice it. He still was able to factor in a whole 100,000 more people to pay for it. You factor in, let's say this, I'm going to give you some numbers, okay? Because this is the problem in the sport of boxing, that we have too much, we pay too much close attention to the things that don't matter, okay? So, Errol Spence pay-per-view, right? You say 100,000 pay-per-views at $75 is $7.5 million. Difference, people. You didn't hear what I said. That's $7.5 million difference. So if Terrence Crawford did 150,000 and Errol Spence did 250,000, well, he grossed $7.5 million more dollars in his pay-per-view than Terrence Crawford did at the same pay-per-view price. So that's somebody's whole purse. That's somebody's whole purse that's being paid with just that 100,000 difference at the same price. So if Terrence Crawford did 150,000 pay-per-views and Errol Spence did 250,000 pay-per-views, well, guess what? Errol Spence still grossed in $7.5 million more dollars in pay-per-view revenue, which means he's still the biggest star. He's still the bigger cash cow. So you're trying to say, well, Errol Spence is not a mega star. Well, let's factor in these numbers then, shall we? Okay, 250,000, okay, times 75 is $18.7 million. So if he sold 250,000 pay-per-views at $75, that's $18.7 million pay-per-view. He grossed in $18.7 million. Okay, so now let's look at these numbers. Okay, 150,000 times 75 is 11.2 million. Like I said, he's still bringing in more money. He's still the bigger star. He's still grossing more money. It doesn't matter. You're trying to use this to try to say that Errol Spence is not as big as a star as people say. Or no, the point is he's still a bigger star and doing a bigger gate than even Canelo. Alvarez. He's doing bigger numbers than Canelo Alvarez is doing. As the gate, as he sell in the gate, he's doing bigger numbers than Canelo Alvarez in the gate. In 2020, he did a bigger gate than Canelo Alvarez did with his fight with Danny Garcia and Gervonta Tank Davis. But today's climate is very difficult. It's completely difficult to be able to do huge numbers. That time has passed. This is a new time. To be able to do 250 to 500,000 is good. Because people, again, like I said, you have 6 to 7 million people that they have found and they have caught and they had to shut down that was illegally streaming the fight. So you just take a small portion of that, 1% of that. 1% of that. And look what you get. So the more important moral of this story is this. The fight grossed $30 million. Okay. The fight between Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence is still going to happen. The purse splits and the revenue and all of those things are not factoring in, preventing this fight from happening or not. So I don't see today's time. What's the point in trying to diminish Errol Spence's pay-per-view with the guy who's relatively unknown? Let's keep this in mind. If Yordenis Ugas headlined his card, okay, against Yordenis Ugas, how many pay-per-view buys does Yordenis Ugas do? If Yordenis Ugas headlines his own card against a guy of the status of himself, of another Yordenis Ugas, how many pay-per-views does Yordenis Ugas do? Now keep this in mind. Terrence Crawford is considered the pound for pound best fighter in the world. He fought another superstar in Sean Porter. When you put Errol Spence and Sean Porter together, they did 325,000 pay-per-view buys. So let's factor that in, okay? Errol Spence and Sean Porter did 325,000 pay-per-view buys times 75 is $24.3 million. So now you put Sean Porter and Terrence Crawford, it does 11 million pay-per-views, 11.2. And you put Sean Porter and Errol Spence and it does 24.3. He more than doubled his numbers fighting a mutual opponent in the same climate. So there you have it. When you put Sean Porter and Terrence Crawford together in Las Vegas, they do 11.3 million pay-per-view. That's how much they grossed in. When you put Errol Spence and Sean Porter, they bring in double, more than double, 24.3. Well, there you have it. And it doesn't even matter Terrence Crawford pay-per-view numbers or Errol Spence pay-per-view numbers. The moral of the story is that Errol Spence, yes, deserves a 60-40 split because he's the bigger star. He sold out. He had 39,866 people at AT&T Dallas Cowboys Stadium. That's 40,000 people. That's 40,000 people seat arena that he put in. That's more than two MGM Grand Gardens arenas in Las Vegas. So he filled up the MGM Grand Garden Arena twice with his one fight. So, yes, he's the biggest star, period. But it don't even matter. Because, again, like I said, Terrence Crawford numbers are not a factor. Errol Spence numbers are not a factor because they're going to fight each other in September more than likely. So who cares? At the end of the day, when you're comparing the two, Errol Spence is the biggest star. It's proven. The proof is in the pudding. Period. But it doesn't hinder anything, and it's not a shame on Terrence Crawford because, again, the climate that we are living in today's time with the technology and people having to watch fights for free, being able to watch Terrence Crawford fight for free is not a knock on Terrence Crawford either. Imagine what his numbers would truly be. See, I'm eager to know how many illegal streams they had for Terrence Crawford because I'm sure ESPN, being the worldwide leader in sports, if Showtime can find these people and shut these streams down, I'm sure ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports, can find these illegal streams and shut them down. I'm eager to see just how many. Because it's probably just as much or even more because you're dealing with ESPN and it was harder to find it on ESPN Plus than your normal Showtime on your television. So it doesn't even matter. The point is, we getting ready to get the biggest fight in the sport of boxing, the biggest fight in both of these guys' career. They both going to get the biggest payday of their career, and the fans should be happy. And the media members and the boxing pundits, they should be happy as well. Instead of, at this point in time, why are you even talking about the numbers when they're not even talking about the numbers? You know it's not a factor today. So why are we trying to bring down Errol Spence talking about he's not a superstar in the sport of boxing, or his pay-per-view failed or flopped, when it doesn't even matter? He's still a bigger star than Terrence Crawford. That proof is in the pudding. But they're going to fight anyway. We're getting the biggest fight in the sport of boxing. So who cares how many pay-per-view numbers Terrence Crawford did or how many Errol Spence did? Because that's all irrelevant now because they fighting. What matters now is this. Make sure you support and buy their pay-per-view fighting each other. That's all that matters now. And that's all I got for y'all. Make sure you hit the like button. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue. Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. You haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell icon to get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to New Media. Shout out to Black Media Row. Make sure you like and share the videos. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.